with some more painting videos. I am down and ready for some good stuff. I'm sorry that we're starting this video so late. Was not my intention, but I gotta just get better at my schedule and getting you guys all set and ready to go. We are back doing some painting of dragons, so I wanted to finish up our Dracothon model from Age of Sigmar. We're doing some Warhammer painting tonight. I may throw in some Blood Bowl painting too. I don't know. Probably we're going to spend all... I think we're going to just focus, and I'm going to try to do that more where I focus on one model for our video, so we can do a little bit more targeted and focused painting, as we did last night where we focused on Mr. Sinister and painting him up. So we're going to do the same thing with this. And I think we're going to try to switch off so some 40K projects happen, Age of Sigmar projects happen, and there's a little bit of synergy where you guys can see a little bit more diversity in what I paint. And again, I'm sorry that this was so late coming to the game, and I know, for instance, we had a few followers that followed and were waiting for me to jump on tonight, but I came on way later than I was going to. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Let's get going so I can show you guys some cool stuff. So if you guys remember from folks that might have seen us on the first video with this illustrious dragon model, we were talking through figuring out a good color scheme for him. And there's a couple of different things that I was like trying to get going on this. Some of it was the actual color scheme of the dragon. And then some of it was also spending some time getting the actual armor done, because I said this on my last stream when we were painting, but there is a particular look for the armor that I'm going for, because my Stormcast Eternals that I'm going to be painting, my army, my faction, is a very particular faction of Stormcast Eternals. They are Stormcast Eternals that, screw it up. Alright, let's get to my close-up cam. There we go. They are a particular faction of Stormcast Eternals that, are specifically stationed at Death. So for folks that don't know, in Age of Sigmar, there are different factions, and the undead have their own faction, and they are led by a particularly nasty gentleman by the name of Nagash. And Nagash is not a nice guy. He does not approach things in a very, very nice manner, and he is not a very nice character. He makes a lot of characters' lives a living hell, and he is the god of death in the Age of Sigmar universe, or I want to do one thing, which is my signature move on eyes. So what I tend to like to do is I like to get So what I'm trying to do is I'm literally trying. There we go. Got it in that eye. So what I was trying to do, which I got in that eye, is painting a light. So to make it look like the eyes have a little bit of light or pupil in them. And usually the best way to do this is to front load your brush, which is a different way of loading up the paint on the brush. Okay, so that is a good example of how not to do it, which is to get white all over your eye. Part of it is the brush. This detail brush, I've talked about it on other streams. This detail brush, I think some of the bristles fell out of it. But what is supposed to happen is it's supposed to look like the pupils are like illuminated. So you can see it very clearly in this one. Now it has that nice little white illumination, which is going to make it's going to make the eyes look more inviting. That has it now too, just not as well. And part of it is because, yeah, this brush is like totally dead. What is going on? And I don't know. I might have to see if I have another one of these detail brushes, because this brush is real bad. So what I'm doing now is what I'm trying to do here is I'm gonna have to redo that in red. I don't want to go too crazy because I'm gonna start making that inside of that eye too dark. But I'm trying to give it a more definition so that it looks a little bit better. Let's see here. It's a big brush. Hold on, guys. I'm seeing... I could go back to using... Oh, do I have one? I could go back to using this brush, which I very much might. Hold on, let me just see something. Sorry, guys. I know I started painting and then I paused. No, that's... Is that the same brush? No. Alright, we could try using one of these. So I bought some other brushes a while ago. I'm gonna give this brush a try. So this is actually from an actual art store. It's got a little bit of detail to it, and it's got a little bit... Let's see. Let's try it out. Let's see. This could work. Let's see. Let's get it a little bit... I'm going to keep that to the side because that's an artificial... just want to see how it moves paint around. Yeah, it moves it pretty well, actually. It's not terrible. I'm going to use the bigger brush for a little bit more of the, but I'm going to lean on that. Just trying to clean up my brushes so that probably gonna have to invest in probably another set of Army Painter brushes or Citadel brushes. I don't know yet which one I want to go with. So similar to how I was doing the last time we were painting, my goal is to just get in there and get the blue, that base blue color, into a lot of areas, and then I'm going to start to work on getting it and then I'm going to work on getting it into other areas. Now, when you're using the contrast paints, it is worth mentioning. I know I was just like approaching it with like a detail brush. They do recommend that you use a better brush like this, something that will spread the color a little bit more evenly and around the model, because that's how you're going to get the best coverage to get what you're looking for. Get some weird. What I'm doing, like I said, what I'm doing now is I'm just trying, like, there are some scales that I already know I may do a certain color variation on. Some I may not, but there is definitely some that I'm gonna give that blue treatment to. In true fashion, I mix a little paint and then I start to put my finger in it, so my whole finger will be that color, because I am super good at doing that. But yeah, like, this is a great example of where I just want to block out. Yeah, oh, that was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. Okay. Because I wanted that to be, you know what, actually no, I don't want it to be that. I want it to stick with, yeah, what's happening is I'm having a little bit of variation problems with my paints. So I actually changed out some of the colors already, specifically some of my browns, because I saw that they were not painting the way that I wanted them to. So yeah, so what I'm trying to do is get some of the muscle structure, and then I'm going to have a varying color for the wings. I'm not really completely figured out what I want to do for the wings yet. Right now, I just wanted to block out where I want this nice blue, and then we can start to pin the rest of it around that. Because as you guys will see, as I get more and more into where this is, whoops, sorry. it will get better and better, and I can get more and more of that color in there. And then, like everything else, there's going to be a lot of opportunity where I have to go in and do some more detailing, because I want to do a few different effects to this. Sorry. I was going to use the handle to paint tonight, but I find that with this bigger model, it's harder for me to use the handle as effectively. And I hate to say it, most of it is just painting on camera. And what I'm doing now is I'm just trying to get all that detail inside of there, which my detail brush, or this newer detail brush that I have, I think is working a lot better than my older brushes. A lot better. Sorry guys, not that my stomach is hurting me, but I have a little bit of like, it's just weird. It's like more when I bend or when I do whatever. I think it's just like a gas bubble, but it is kind of hurting, you know, or throbbing, and I have to like keep that in check because it is a little on the annoying side. So going back to what I was doing before, I'm just kind of going back over some of these scaled areas. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so it is whenever I bend. Interesting. Because it did not hurt. Now, what's interesting about this model, too, is they definitely have some varying scales. You have some scales that are very much a little bit more elevated. And I know, guys, that you may find this a little bit redundant because I keep going back over these areas. But what I'm doing is I'm building up tone as I go. And like I said before, I am essentially building a color scheme I'm building a color scheme of how I effectively want to do the anatomy of the dragons. That's why it's taking me a minute to figure it out. And I apologize that you guys are seeing me maybe move the model around a little too much. Or even I'm hoping you guys are getting good angles, but it's probably more than likely true that you're not, because I'm holding it at kind of a slanted angle. And in order for me to effectively do the model in the right way, I sort of have to move it and like twist it in a way that might make it a little bit more annoying to watch, and I'm hoping it doesn't, but I don't have as high hopes for it because I have to really work with the model, because, and I say it a lot, but when you have a bigger model like something like this, it can be pretty challenging to go after it, because you really do have to like watch how you're doing it, and you may have to like go back in there and do different things, because you're going to have some areas that are going to be semi-difficult to paint. I'm about to show you guys one of those areas right now. Oh, no. No, that should have been Gilliman. I'm going to have to re-whiten that whole thing now. That was dumb. That was a rookie mistake what I just did. I'm going to have to re-whiten that whole thing now because I messed it up. I wanted to do that color a certain way, and I just screwed it up big time. Sorry, guys. That was so dumb what I just did. Hey guys, let's see how this will look. It's gonna look slightly different than the top does. So you guys will see how I'm going to fix this. So I got to wait until that side dries, but I will fix the other side, because then I got to go back over it. I stupidly tried to go over it while it was wet, which solved part of the problem, but it didn't really solve all of it. I am a dummy. So the color that was supposed to be on that side, on that panel, should have been the Gilliman, so that it would match the top area of the dragon, because and I'm going to try to get a good angle for you guys. This particular part of the paint is a little bit challenging and hard because I have to go inside. There are some sneaky angles I can try to do this from, but it's a little bit tricky and challenging because, as you'll see, that tail joint, I have to go all the way down, and I have to, there's a very fine line to where that, where some of the blue scales have like a small detail, where they go. So I'm gonna have to come up with a plan on how I'm gonna get in there and do that. Obviously, this part of the tail is gonna be really easy because it's right there. But you know, you're gonna see don't paint inside of there, please. So while I'm doing that, I'm noticing I had some opportunities with some touch-ups inside of there. All right. Now this is going to start getting tougher. He's gonna be a tough model to paint because I made some conscious decisions. Now the Gilliman might. Oh, I hit some of that white that wasn't dry yet. The reason I'm being a little persistent with the Gilliman is because I just want to make sure I remind myself that I do not want to do anything but Gilliman moving forward on that area, because I do not want to make another mistake. I'm being messy. I'm being too messy with this dragon, and I can't do that. Shoot. I'm gonna have to do a lot of repainting just because I'm being way too sloppy and messy with my paint. You know, so I say this a lot to people. Jesus, you guys aren't even getting the detail. Take your time. Don't rush your paint jobs. Because all that rushing you're going to do, all you're going to do is make a ton of little areas that you now have to go back over. And all that's going to do is cause you to have to do more work. So just take the time. Don't rush your model. And again, we're all guilty of it. I am super guilty of it as a model painter. I want, I want instant gratification too, where I want to see the model painted. I want to see it ready to go. I want to see it tabletop ready. But don't just take your time, especially if you are starting out in the hobby. Like, don't rush that paint job. Don't rush your, don't rush what you're doing. Like, I am super rushing because, well, there's a couple of things actually. So with the contrast paints, sometimes I do rush, or I tend to have maybe a rush moment, because what I am worried about sometimes, and this is one of those times where I am a little worried, I want the coat of paint, or the application of paint, to be as even as possible. I don't want it to look splotchy. So sometimes with contrast paints, if you wait too long, your paint will start to look that way. You'll see a lot of the brush strokes. You'll see a lot of the splotchiness of it. And I just want to make sure that I don't ruin that. And guys, I apologize with the larger dragon that you may not be seeing. I think actually you are seeing what I'm doing. I think I'm doing a good job of keeping it in camera. I know there's a couple of moments where my camera, if his wing keeps getting in the way, it may be inadvertently like focusing on that wing. So if it's doing that, I'm sorry. I have a better mount for my camera coming, so we will moving forward, we will have a much... Oh, did I just put Gilliman on the claws? Don't do that. That's not Gilliman. I'm just doing lots of really weird things tonight that I don't normally do, which is... And again, sorry for the lack of an angle here, guys. In order for me to paint that area, I had to tilt them. Because what's slightly challenging about this model is that, as I may have pointed out before, his wings and his tail and stuff, it's all very circular the way it all kind of maps out. So in order to get to all the areas where that tail is, oh my god, I have to do some fancy footwork maneuvering to actually get my brush in some of these areas. So it is I don't know if you guys saw that. I actually had to bend the base a little bit. That is annoying. To get that angle the way I wanted it, I had to... Oh, and I touched it. Yeah, so for you guys at home, you probably are not seeing any of what I'm doing right now. Or maybe you are a little bit. I'm just running my brush down the edge of that. so that I can get some paint to fall in that crevice of the tail. Ah, damn it. No. Alright, so I'll have to wait until that dries to actually get that. But much, much better coverage of the color. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going in and saturating a little bit. And I'll go in with a detail brush. But I just wanted to fill in a lot of the gaps or the crevices where, you know, that color is going to meet other colors. So that we can make that look a little nicer inside of there. And now what we're going to do is move over. We'll give that a little bit of time to dry. And then I'll move over to the skeleton horde, because we got some touch-ups to do on a few things. So one being I want to do the nails, because the nails I want to do, I always do nails now. I love doing nails with the skeleton horde if I'm not going to do them like black or another color. I love doing them that way because to me it looks like a very standard it looks like a very standard like fantasy dragon look to have like and then I also want to do, and you guys will see what I'm going to do here. So this is where we start to get into creating some accent tones in that armor. So then the scales will start to look more 3D or more interesting just based on how we do that. And like I said, there's just a lot of little touch-ups that I want to do because I noticed when I was looking at this the other day, there were just like some areas that just didn't get as much love. The coloring isn't in there, or just didn't get fully painted. So, now I want to realize that a little bit better. Because now I'm going in and trying to put some of the details in here. And we could already see him coming to life a lot more than he was a minute ago. Just with a lot of simple little tweaks. Oops. So what I'm doing now is I'm I'm just going through and I'm just cleaning a lot of my mistakes. So the cool thing about the contrast paints, and I've said this before, is that if you just go over it in white, you can take out a lot of the blemishes and mistakes. So I'm just doing that now because, as I can see, I was a little overzealous with my brush. So I overlapped and came into some of the scales. That I shouldn't have. So now I can go back over and get those areas taken care of. We're a little light on our Warhammer viewers tonight. I would have thought you guys would be chomping at the bit to see some Warhammer content, but alas, I do not see a lot of you guys on with me right now. I always tell people, if you are if you guys are you know, have ideas for other content, or there's other models you'd like to see, please let me know. I'm always interested to see what you guys are interested in, what you're maybe getting into. I mean, I try to keep myself pretty on the loop of what's out there. I'm in a holding pattern for a lot of stuff. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get that wing, that pesky wing out of the way. Now what you guys are noticing is that when I do the white trick, I do have to sort of overload the brush and do very small strokes. Now, if I were to, let's say, go back into that, and I were to overcoat that, like do a small coat. Sorry. If I were to do just a one pass coat, which I'm kind of doing now, and then I wait till that contrast paint dries, and I were to go back over it again, the coat would instantly become a little bit more. It would be more solid and more dark. Right now, it'll just cover it, but then I'm going to go back over those areas to make it look a little nicer. So it's kind of like what I did here with the shoulder pad, where I went over it, but now I'm going to go back over it again. And you'll see that it will lighten very nicely over there. And now what I'm doing is I'm just going in with that nice little small detail brush, and I'm basically just filling in areas that I know didn't get the love that they needed the first time. So we can start to get some nicer tones on this dragon overall, and just get a lot of those like missteps corrected, and make it look a little bit nicer to what I want it to be. And again, I say this all the time, but what I am trying to do too is obviously I'm trying to paint. I like to paint the same colors everywhere because it has to do with the way contrast paints are and how they dry, because then if you do it that way, then you can have so now I'm just twisting it around to make sure I'm getting good coverage on all of those nails. Because, you know, as painters, and newer painters, I think, run into this problem more often. But you always have to, I tell people all the time, remember, you're painting a three-dimensional model, which means you have to look at it from different angles to make sure you're getting everything painted the right way. Because that's a mistake that a lot of beginning painters make. Where you think you have the whole model covered, you think you have everything in good shape, and then bango, you realize as you're painting that, you know, you only painted half of it, or you didn't realize that when you were painting it, when the model like stands a certain way, that as it turns, you know, what you were painting continues onto another side, or, and so then you're like, oh, no, and then, you know, maybe your shadow's off, your highlight's off, and it goes back to that idea of uneven toning, because you can start doing all these like embellished details or whatever. And then in retrospect or reality, you actually have a total, like, complete piece of the model that you completely forgot to paint. about an hour into the dragon. Wow. An hour in. And you guys are probably asking, like, why is he going after toenails and claws and stuff right now? And it's because, again, it's the way I like to paint, where I am focusing on one color, so all those areas with that color dry, and then I'm using it as a moment to reflect, to be like, where else or what else do I want to see in this particular model? So, because I'm not completely sold yet on how I'm going to do all of the other areas of the scales, other areas of some of the other things that I wanted to see on this. So I want to kind of see, what can I have, what can I do, what's on the docket. All right. Now, I also had the Stormcast Eternals up. Sorry, guys. Hold on one sec. Trying to get the visual. Oh, nope. Nope. Don't need that anymore. Alright, so. Interesting. So. Jesus. Alright, so they still have gold. Alright, so this is going to be challenging because... Alright, let's try this. Oh, this is so scary. I get so nervous doing what I'm about to do. I hate using Templar Black on models that I haven't finished yet. Okay. So going back to what I said. So for all of my Age of Sigmar fans out there, you might remember... you might say to yourself, he is now... painting... He's painting Stormcast Eternal Armor black as opposed to its traditional gold color. And this is something that is true of the faction that I am making my army from. So I came across in the lore, like I said, essentially a faction of Stormcast Eternals that are positioned or essentially are at a storm vault, but it is located, this storm vault is located right at the border of the land of the dead. So it's literally like a place that exists at the edge of Nagesh's territory. So they are constantly fighting the undead hordes. You guys will see why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. So they actually adorn darkened black armor. And they have red accents. So they are not the traditional Stormcast Eternals that you are maybe accustomed to seeing in the main factions. Because normally Stormcast Eternals they have golden armor. They are, because they are celestial, essentially they are celestial beings. They are what I would equivocate to essentially angels. They are the equivalent of angels. But like I said, the faction that I want to go for is going to be that faction that is knocking on Nagesh's door. So they go for a different aesthetic and look. And I think this will be a very cool detail on the dragon. Because going back to what I said before, I don't like to be sorry guys, the wing on this dragon. It has been very tiresome and troublesome to do my normal like setup with, because every time I'm painting, I'm always covering up the camera with part of the model, and I don't want to do that, but I don't know how else to do it. And I tried using that handle, but I feel like the problem with the handle is that it adds it makes me further away from the camera, because the handle itself also has height. So now the model like becomes so much taller, and then I can't really use my close-up cam to show you guys the details of what I'm actually doing. So in retrospect, it kind of defeats the purpose of having it. Alright, so this is a good example of what I was talking about before. Alright, so so I'm gonna do all of this. I'm gonna do all of this in the Templar black, but I'm gonna leave a little bit of that detail, because I want to do some gold trim and some gold detail on this. We may just do an hour. I may just do an hour and a half tonight, because seems like not as many people are out and about. I don't know why. It's probably because I started way too late. So for you folks that were here at 10 o'clock and did not get me being ready and painting for you, if you're watching it after the fact, I'm really, real sorry. I promise moving forward, I will stick to my broadcast times. So I'm super, super sorry if you guys were here, and I didn't necessarily deliver. And like I said, I have coming on the way a better camera mount that will make you guys being able to see what I'm painting a lot better than it is now. Okay, so I wanna, oh Jesus, I think I just like blew out a detail. No, I didn't. Okay. Wow. Oof. I like how this is already looking. Okay. Oh, we got some stuff going on. Okay. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of washing it just to get the black in where I want it to be, and I'm just doing it on more of a lighter term. I have a plan for the writing, which is going to be very cool, but all I'm doing now is I'm just darkening that armor so I know when it dries I can go back over the black where I'm putting it. And I've done this, I do this sometimes when I want to like really make sure that I'm getting a detail right, which is this idea, and I actually kind of I kind of did it differently on the other side, but in the end it'll be fine. But I like to play with the contrast in this way. This is the wrong brush to do it with, but I'll do it with a bigger brush, and I'll just let the contrast sort of do its thing. I'm just gonna go over everything now. Where I'll let the brush itself, like the liquid aspect of the paint, just flow and sort of almost use it. I've said it before, like ink. So I'm just letting that overage, that saturation, just go into the crevices, so it finds its way into those crevices to block out where I want the black armor to be. And it works real well for like small detail areas, because then you can just go in and you'll see I can almost and I'm doing it a little bit now with this, I can go in here and just kind of push the paint around, so it's creating this flow. Now, what's also nice about this particular situation is that with the exception of the writing, which is why I was so protective of it, everything else is going to have gold on top of it. So even if I was, you know, a little messy, or I got some of the aspects of this wrong, the nice part about it is that I could always cover it up with the gold, because the gold will actually go over the black, because the gold is slightly transparent, but it's going to just sit on top of that black, so it'll just look like a little bit of a darker gold, which is nice. And again, what's cool about this paint scheme is, like I said, they are yeah, when you guys see what this looks like when it's all done, like I said, their paint scheme is insane. It's so cool. I saw it in yeah, it'll make more sense once I get all of the other aspects to it in there. You guys will see one of those aspects right now. because you're gonna have that spectral kind of blue, but then there's also gonna be gold in it. It's gonna look so fire when it's done. And again, what this is an alternative. This is an alternative sect of the Stormcast Eternals. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going in and I'm just getting these little details in blue. Because then eventually what's going to happen is I'm going to paint the rest of the inside of that black. So right now I'm just trying to get all of the aspects of it that aren't going to be black, painted blue, so that when I go in with black, I can just kind of seep that black in, and then you'll see how I'm gonna go. This is gonna be all gold reveal in here, so it's gonna be very, very cool when it's finished. And again, I'm just going in and adding all of this blue. So that it has like a spectral dull energy. And this is an alternative way to paint Stormcast Eternals. And you guys will see, this is all, I'll show you close up. And you'll see it's going to play off that black really, really nicely. It's going to be very, very cool. And again, this is just to get that blue in there. And then, like I said, you're going to see how the black is going to go in there. But because it's a shade, because this is a shader. And again, we're going to have gold on top of the black. So there's a lot of really amazing layers of color you're going to have here. And you could already see how awesome that beard looks like with the blue. And then we're going to come back with that spectral blue too, because you're going to see me, and you can already see just how awesome that detail looks in there. And again, I haven't even fully painted it yet, but you can already start to see that contrast and how that's going to look. That is awesome. Oh my god, that looks so cool. I'm so happy with the way this is coming out. This looks so freaking fire, bro. I know a few people, like, locally are, like, super excited about this model and definitely want to see me finish it. I was going to say, for the folks out there that are watching, I say this every stream, but I am super, super open to some feedback. And if you guys like feedback on if you're having trouble seeing the stream, if you think I'm doing too many camera angles or something, let me know. But so far I am and I'm going to use like an older gold. There is the actual like Retributor gold, but I like using like a dirty gold, especially if I'm going to do this paint scheme. There's a rationale behind the why. So you'll see that's got like a reddish gold to it, but I may not use this. I may actually use the Retributor gold. Nah, I think it looks pretty good. Because technically they're supposed to have like red banners and stuff. So this is kind of building off of that red a little bit. And again, this detail small brush that I bought, this is great. This is one very rare occasion where I did buy this. This is a like traditional painting brush, so I did buy this at like an arts at an actual like art supply store. These are Scriptree Gold. This is a Winsor and Newton brush. So for folks that are not familiar with traditional art painting, Winsor and Newton make pretty fine, considered sorry guys, I'm doing like a detail, so for folks that have watched me for some time now, you realize that when I do details, I tend to stop talking. Um, Winsor and Newton are a pretty well-known brush company. So any fine artist who does either acrylic-based work or oil-based work will look out for their brushes because they are a little bit on the higher quality side. Now, the reason that I did go and grab these brushes is because at the time, a lot of the places that I would typically go to were having some, like it was during COVID when I bought these, so I was having, people are having supply chain issues, which they still are. And they were having some problems getting a lot of these products, so I needed small detail brushes. And this is kind of an interesting fact, but not that, and I want to preface this. Not that GW doesn't make small detail brushes, but for some reason, and this has always been true for me, their brushes are not small enough for me. They're not. Oh, geez, I just got like nicked by that model. I find their brushes to actually not be small, actually detailed enough for me. And I think it lends itself to, and I wanna really be careful the way that I say this. But I think it lends itself to a lot of GW paint jobs that, in my opinion, all look like the same. So they will always look like they will look very generic. And always the people that I find are, when you go and you're maybe at an event or you're at your local hobby shop and you have that like person who you envy and think is amazing and has like tremendously cool painted armies or whatever. I find that those people are the people who like, explore outside of the range, whether it comes to the supplies they use, the colors they use, or so and so. Or I find that the other group is the people who take the GW products but then like do different things with them. So they'll take the GW product, but then they'll innovate it or change it, or they'll change it, they'll flip the script, they'll do something different with it. And I find those are the people what I'm doing now is I'm just... Oh, that looks super cool. Oh, this paint job looks bitchin'. I love the armor like this. It looks so much cooler. It's not even done yet because wait until you guys see the highlights and stuff I'm going to put on it. But damn, this looks good. I am so in love with this idea. Oh, that looks so good. I love how that armor looks. It just looks so good. It already looks very good. I have to obviously touch it up and do more to it, but it looks so good. And I haven't even scratched the surface of what I'm going to do this yet. I'm just going back in with the black because I want to oh my god, this looks so freaking fire. And again, I haven't even done everything to it yet. It's just because it looks so good. It's... because it's the way the colors play off of it. Like the gold with the black and the blue. It just looks so cool. Oh, this looks so freaking fire, man. Oh, it looks so good. It looks... I so love how this looks. It looks so good. And I made a decision on one other part of the armor. Oh, this looks so fire. Oh my god, this looks so cool. I'm speechless. I didn't think this was going to look as good as it did. And this is like a first shot too. I mean, like I started painting. looks so cool. This is insane how cool this looks. Oh my god, that looks so cool. There's gonna have to be a little bit more like lightening of a few things, but sorry guys, I'm getting like so caught up in the details now. Yeah, so what I will be doing with that is I got to do highlights. So I'll have to do like some highlights on the actual armor, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do blue highlights, and that's going to start bringing out some of the details on the armor plate, and a few other things. And I'm going to have to go over the gold again and just a few other odds and ends once I kind of feel out what I want to do. But so far with the armor, I am super ready to go. Like, I love how the armor is coming out. I love how man, I don't know why I'm like dancing around painting his hand. It can't be with the same like bone stuff that I did on the other guy. Like it has to all just jive. I'm really loving how this dragon is coming out. It's definitely have to play around with some more effects, and like I said, that some lighter tones here and there are going to go a long way. Because those lighter tones will definitely help me get some of the other little finer points across that I wanna get through. And like I said, I could foresee myself maybe coming in with that dark blue on some aspects of the dragon. So maybe even with the hands, I might do parts of the hands in a little bit lighter in that darker blue. I don't know yet, but for right now, I trust I trust having that darker blue in there for right now. The wings are a whole other Megillah, which I have not yet figured out where I want to go with those just yet. See, that's the problem. Like, normally, if I know... not that I didn't know where I wanted to go with the dragon, but I kept going back and forth because, I mean, right now I am going a little bit more on, like, for the dragon that I built. Well, so this dragon, the model kit that GW sends you can build 2 different dragons. I kit bashed it, so it's actually a mishmash of both dragons. There are reasons I do stuff like this. I mean, the biggest reason here was I preferred aspects of the second dragon over the dragon that is more technically the one that I would be using more frequently. So the dragon that I would put in my army, that I would field, the model was a lot more, and based on the lore of the characters, it makes a lot of sense, because the lore of the characters is that he's a dragon who uses magic, and he uses wisdom, and he's a little bit more thoughtful, so he's not as ultra violent as the other dragon. So the model reflected that, so he was not as aggressive looking or snarly looking. He really was more like smiling and a lot more docile looking. And I was like, I have to do touch-ups on these, which I will. But when I saw that, I was like, but he's a dragon. Like, he's a dragon on a battlefield. Like, why would he be... He should be... I don't know, he should be, like, to me, a little bit more action-oriented. I get that his, like, demeanor and things might be a little bit more on the aggressive side, but he might be a little bit like his personality, but, and this is where I think GW gets itself in trouble a lot, but this is a war game. They're on a battlefield, so the dragon, he should be like, in my opinion, he should be taking more of an initiative and be more robust in his thinking. So that's kind of how I saw the dragon. So what that related to for me was I kit bashed the 2, so the more I'm going to keep these all not painted because I'm going to have to come back in with that other color. Yeah, so the one I went and chose the more a lot of the more aggressive ones features, but I then also took some of obviously the armor pieces and some of the stance ideas from the other one. So this model is a little bit more of a hybrid of the two dragons. Now, there's another reason behind doing it this way, and it has to come with actually playing your army. So, I am not a fan And when I play with people, I never do this to people. But I am not a fan of forcing the people I play with to have to go out and spend twice as much on, and literally have to buy this model kit twice just to want to try out the other dragon. So if you play with me or you're part of my group that I play with, I am 100% okay, and I have no problems with you making alternative lists and saying this named character is such and such. This named character is such and such. I have no problems with a player doing that who plays with me. Because I think it's terrible that GW makes somebody make somebody feel like they have to do that in order to play an army. And it's unfair to me, because when they make these new models, who's to say you're gonna like the aspect of that character or the aspect of that variation? Who says, where is it stated in any book that you are gonna like that character? What if you play it in a game and you're like, this is horrible, and then you took the time to make this model, and now you have no recourse but to have the wrong model, and then you can never put it in your list, versus just letting somebody proxy, use the one model, but let him play it as whatever character he wants to play it as, out of the two. Because again, officially, you bought the model kit that this model was in. So when I have people play with me, I am a believer in allowing players to do that. So that is why, I am like that. But I have come to some tables and I've been in some events where not every player is as gracious as I am. So they'll come in and they'll be mad because I'm not playing the correct faction, not the correct faction. I'm not playing the model as it is, as it's seen. So I am not playing the quote-unquote what you see is what you get version of playing Warhammer, where everything on the table is exactly the way it's supposed to be. It has all the right weapons and whatnot. So I've had people, share their frustration and be like, well, I'm just going to bring a little bit of that color. I may have a different color for that tail. I don't know yet. But yeah, so they'll come in and they'll be agitated about the fact that your model is not, that you're not playing the right model. So one combative thing I figured out how to do, which has worked in some cases and in some cases it just doesn't, is this idea, which is doing a kit bash where you kind of build it as if it's kind of a new model, but it has aspects of both models. So what that has done for me is it has it has quelled a lot of those arguments, because then the person doesn't really have a leg to stand on to argue with me, because I just my sort of counter to it is, well, technically it is both aspects of the model kit. So therefore, who's to say it's just not that character from a different point in his lore, you know, and things like that. So that has been a way around that objection. Again, has it worked every single time I've played a game? Not at all. I have had to change lists. I've had to change aspects of what I played, because the person was unyielding and did not want to bend and did not want to allow me to play like that. So, all right. So let's take a look at the model so far. Really love where we got to. The armor is looking super cool, super fresh. I'm going to call it here because we've done about 2 hours. But very nice. Very nice progress for a 2-hour painting session. Again, these big models, these big things like this, they are tough. They are hard because we have a lot of detail. And as I was saying to you guys, there is a lot going on here that I have to get a little bit more into. But so far, I am loving the armor. I am loving just the whole look of him. He looks very nice and very cool. We'll definitely get some more painting. I said it last time, but I'm gonna try to paint him. I'm gonna try to do some painting off camera so I can get him a little bit faster, and get him a little further. So next session, we'll review some of the techniques and things I did, but we can jump into the fun stuff and the little details and really kind of start bringing them to life. But I really, really love the way this model is coming out. I do want to get these larger models done. Like I want to get him. I want to start getting my giants. A lot of other things done. So thank you all for watching. As always, if you're checking this out after the fact, consider following the channel and signing up for notifications to know when we're live. I will, by all means, as I said before, make a diligent promise to everyone that I will start my streams on time. I kicked my heels tonight. I should have started on time, but I was tired. I had a long day and I had a long night with my family, so I had to start a little later. I'm gonna make sure we don't do that. Tomorrow night I'm gonna do some indie model painting. I think we're gonna start. I'm gonna relook at some info about entry into a painting contest. Oh, excuse me. I may start to paint that model tomorrow, so we can get ready for that contest and submit it, and kind of see how that goes. And then we'll keep moving forward and working on the projects that you guys have come to know and love on this channel. And we'll take a look. We'll keep going. And as always, if you could check out my website, Patreon, and YouTube. I promise I'm going to archive a few more videos there. We'll start to do... I wanted to do some content on YouTube soon. It looks like that may get postponed because there's going to be some changes. But I will work through them and we will figure them out together. And we will see what it looks like. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And come back to see more of how the dragon gets painted. And see what we can do here. And there's just a lot of really cool detail. And we're going to see how far we can push this. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you at the next video. All right, take care, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.